I never thought I'd be the guy telling one of these stories, but here we are. It all started on what was supposed to be a completely normal Tuesday. My girlfriend, let's call her Chloe, and I had been together for 3 years. We lived together. We had a dog together. We were that couple. You know the one. Everyone thinks you're going to get married. I thought so too. That Tuesday, I came home from work a little early. I was excited because I'd managed to snag reservations at that new Italian place you'd been dying to try. It was meant to be a surprise. Well, the surprise was on me. I walked in, calling her name, but the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Too quiet. Our dog, Buster, didn't even run to the door to greet me, which was weird. I found him shut in the bedroom. As I let him out, I noticed Chloe's work bag was on the floor, but her car was gone. Strange. I figured she just popped out to the store. I decided to start getting ready for our surprise dinner, and that's when I saw it. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. This wasn't unusual. She often worked from home. But what was unusual was the chat window left open on the screen. My heart sank. It was a conversation with a guy from her office, a guy she'd always called her work husband. I'd always hated that term, but she assured me it was a joke. The messages told a different story. They were planning a weekend trip, a romantic getaway, they called it. The dates: this coming weekend. The same weekend I was planning to take her to the mountains for our anniversary. The messages went back weeks. They talked about secret lunches, late nights at the office, and they made fun of me. They called me predictable, boring, naive. Reading those words felt like a punch to the gut. I felt sick. My first instinct was pure rage. I wanted to smash the laptop, to call her and scream. But then a strange sense of calm washed over me. Screaming wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't unsend those messages. So I took a deep breath. I closed the laptop, put Buster back in the bedroom, and walked out of the apartment. I drove to a park and just sat there for hours, thinking, what do I do? A big, dramatic confrontation? Pack my bags and leave a note. Then, a better idea started to form. A much, much better idea. She called me predictable. Boring. Fine. I'll be unpredictable. Karma, I decided, was going to handle this, and I was going to give it a little nudge. I went back home later that evening and acted like nothing had happened. When Chloe walked in, I gave her a hug and a kiss, my stomach churning the whole time. I told her I had a huge anniversary surprise planned for the upcoming weekend and that she needed to pack for a warm, tropical destination. Her eyes lit up. This was a classic me move, planning a big trip. Predictable, right? She was so excited, she immediately started talking about what to pack. She asked if she needed a passport. I said yes. Absolutely. She even canceled her supposed girls' weekend she had planned, apologizing profusely. The acting performance she gave was Oscar. I played along, telling her it was no problem, that our anniversary was more important. The next few days were a masterclass in self-control. I helped her shop for bikinis. I listened to her talk about how excited she was for our trip to Bali. Bali. That's where I told her we were going. I even printed fake flight itineraries and hotel confirmations. The whole time, she was secretly texting her work husband, telling him she had to postpone their little trip because I was taking her on a surprise vacation. I knew this because I may have put a keylogger on her laptop. Hey, all's fair in love and war, right? Her messages were sickeningly sweet to me and full of complaints about me to him. She told him she'd make it up to him as soon as she got back. Meanwhile, I was making my own plans. I quietly contacted our landlord and explained the situation. Luckily, he was a good guy and was very understanding. I arranged to have my name taken off the lease. I packed up all my belongings, piece by piece, while she was at work. I hid the boxers at a friend's place. I also visited a lawyer to understand my rights regarding our shared assets, which, thankfully, weren't that complicated. I systematically and silently untangled my life from hers. The hardest part was Buster. I arranged for him to stay with my parents for a little while. Leaving him was the only part of this plan that truly broke my heart. Finally, the big day arrived. The Friday of our anniversary trip. I woke her up early. "Time to go to Bali," I said with the biggest, fakest smile I could muster. She was giddy with excitement. We loaded her suitcases into my car. Notice I said her suitcases. I just had a small backpack. She asked why I packed so light. I just winked and said, "I travel light." We drove to the airport. She was chattering away the whole time, taking selfies and posting about her amazing best ever boyfriend taking her to Bali. The irony was so thick he could cut it with a knife. We pulled up to the international departures terminal. I got out and opened the trunk. I took out her 2 massive suitcases. She got out of the car, expecting me to lead the way to the check-in counter. Instead, I handed her an envelope. She looked at me, confused. "What's this?" she asked. "Your ticket to Bali is in there," I said, "along with a few other things." She excitedly tore it open, but inside, there wasn't a ticket. Instead, there were printouts of every single text message between her and her work husband. I'd highlighted the best parts for her, the parts where they made fun of me, the parts where they planned their secret trip, the parts where she lied directly to my face. Her face went from pure joy to ghostly white in about 2 seconds. She looked up at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. She was speechless. "What? What is this?" she finally stammered. I just looked at her, my face completely blank. "That's your karma," I said. "You were right. I can be predictable, but sometimes I can be surprising." I then pointed to a car that had just pulled up behind mine. "Oh, and look, your ride is here." Out of the other car stepped her work husband. He looked just as confused as she did. I had texted him from a burner number that morning, telling him Chloe had a big surprise for him at the airport and to meet her at the departures curb at this exact time. She stared at him, then back at me. The full picture was finally clicking into place in her head. "I think you two have a trip to plan," I said. "Just not with me. And not to Bali." I leaned in close and whispered, "By the way, all my stuff is out of the apartment. I've taken my name off the lease. You have until the end of the month to figure things out with the landlord." "Oh, and Buster is with my parents. He's much happier there." The look on her face was a mixture of horror, shame, and fury. It was exactly the closure I needed. I didn't wait for a response. I got back in my car, didn't look back, and drove away, leaving the two of them standing on the curb with their luggage and their lies. The feeling of freedom was intoxicating. It wasn't about revenge in a hateful way. It was about taking back my power. It was about showing her, and myself, that I wasn't the naive, predictable guy she thought I was. I deserved better. And that drive away from the airport was the first step toward finding it the best part. I used the money I saved for that Bali trip to take myself on an actual vacation, a solo trip to the mountains. It was peaceful, it was healing, and it was exactly what I needed. So if you're going through something similar, remember this. Don't get mad, get smart. Let karma do its thing. And maybe, just maybe, give it a little creative push in the right direction. Thanks for listening to my story. If you liked it, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.